All right, so welcome to another episode of Fucked Up Fables. If ruining your childhood is something you enjoy, you've come to the right place. We're going to change things up a little bit today because originally I was supposed to do the episode, but Enkidu will be doing it instead. So Enkidu has decided to share with us the story of Enkidu. Well, Gilgamesh, but Enkidu is just as important, right?
Yeah, so while it is called the Epic of Gilgamesh, that's like the official name of it, Enkidu is the most important character of the story, and I will die on this hill, so sorry, not sorry. But I think it kind of becomes apparent why I'm sure other people feel this way as well as we go. And just so everyone knows, this isn't really a fucked up story. It's just really sad, so you might need some tissues. I definitely cried. I'm a baby.
Don't help me. I was crunchy.
So before we dive into this, it will be a two-parter. Content warning for both episodes includes murder. That's it.
No cannibalism?
Nope. Some people get
No
murdered.
babies on the fire?
No.
I have cannibalism in my episode.
No rape.
Oh,
no
there it is.
nothing.
Okay.
You know,
We can't go too long without cannibalism on this channel.
I thought we had like a nice palate cleanser. We're gonna jump right back into it.
A good palate cleanser before the holidays.
Right, before it gets intense again. Yeah. And then, so this next part isn't really a content warning, but I did want to preface both episodes with this. So, if you do not like gay relationships, not only is this the wrong episode for you, but probably the wrong show. So, there's a lot of debate over whether Gilgamesh and Enkidu are an actual couple or just friends. So in translations, they typically use the term brother. Yeah, when they refer to each other, they call each other brother, and oh, my brother, whatever. But
It's like in Sailor Moon, how they turn Neptune and Uranus into cousins.
Yeah, exactly. So
the closest cousins I've ever seen.
Yeah, straight washing is totally a thing that we have found. And so the other argument that I could see for it being used as a term brother is that like certain words don't translate well. And it kind of made me think of the word nakama in Japanese, which, if you are familiar with anime, that's the term they use in One Piece to refer to each other. They call them their nakama, which is kind of like a crewmate slash brother in arms type person, but it's like a deeper connection than that. So like a lot of subs for One Piece won't even translate it; they'll just keep the word the same because like we don't have a word in English that like encompasses the meaning of this word. So it could just be that, and like brother is kind of the closest thing that we can get because this story was written a long time ago. All right, and then lastly, I am for sure gonna butcher these names because I tried really hard to look up pronunciations for these names, and I got about like 50 different ways to pronounce them, and was like, I'm not there. I don't know why it's so difficult to find like consistent pronunciations of these words. I guess it's because the story's like so old, or the area that it's based in kind of like goes through a lot of changes, because we're talking like way back in BCE time. So my apologies to the Middle East for my horrible American words. There we go. Alrighty, history time. You're welcome. Sorry, it's gonna make you bored for a little bit. I see the look, the glaze.
I love history. So
Alright, well, okay, then you
That's just my face. That's just kind of how I look.
So, the Epic of Gilgamesh is a poem. It is written on tablets that date back to about 2000 BC. I think the actual date that they have kind of like officiated is 2100 BC. So the tablets were found in Mesopotamia, which, for those who are geography literate like me, was Akkad, Babylonia, Larsa, Assyria, and Isen. So, like some other literary figures, King Arthur, he is believed to have been real and was the king of the Sumerian city-state of Uruk, which was basically an independent city of Sumer. So, in present day, it most likely sat between the Euphrates River and Iraq, just to kind of give you an idea of where we're talking about. And fun fact, when I looked at pronunciations, Uruk in some pronunciations is pronounced Iraq. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. That's how some of them do it. So there are originally 5 tablets that give the story, and then fast forward like 800 years to about 1200 BC, and they kind of took to some other stories that involved Gilgamesh, and kind of combined them together to bring the other 7 tablets. So there are a total of 12 tablets that go start to finish the story of Gilgamesh. And because they are from so long ago, Gilgamesh is considered to be the oldest recorded literary figure.
Question.
I thought Beowulf was.
Mm-mm.
Really?
I did too, actually, for a while. Yeah, but that's a bye.
So how you said there's 7 tablets. How big are these tablets? Because I know the Gilgamesh story is pretty. Is it written this big?
Yeah, I wish I had like pictures to show you guys. Like if you look it up, you can find the tablets are actually like on display. And I'll kind of get into this a little bit, but they're not full tablets either. A lot of them are missing pieces or
That
chunks.
that
So
would
they're
make
really
sense.
rough looking as well. We actually only have about 2/3 of the full story. The rest is kind of like what's inferred, and then there are actual gaps in the story where you'll find out they're like listing something and that part is just gone. Like, here's half the list. We don't know what the rest of it was. And yeah, because I mean they're really old, but like you can find them. I think they're on display at the whatever the like big national museum in Iraq is where they're currently on display at. They're pretty dope, and yes, it is very tiny writing, but it's I guess Arabic would be right. So like the way that they write is not quite the same as ours. So like it
Yeah,
looks
like the
probably
Sanskrit is different. Yeah,
yeah. So like it makes it easier to like write small or whatever. Yeah.
not like us Americans who like big everything.
Yeah. So when they combined the 12 tablets together, they kind of gave it a name. So the original name, which is in Akkadian, translates to surpassing all other kings. Don't ask me what the actual words are because I don't speak Arabic, so I have no idea what the fuck it actually is. I didn't even bother. So then the second title comes from the Babylonian version, which is kind of like the go-to standard that all of the stories of Gilgamesh are now translated from. And that one is called He Who Saw the Abyss. So kind of interesting. And they found these tablets in a king's library in about 7th century BC. All right, so Vi, you had a question. I'm sorry.
I did. So are the tablets different stories, or is it one long story?
Yes and yes. So a lot of them are like independent stories that kind of tell his life, but they all fit together. So like
Okay.
when you talk about like heroes and they kind of like break them up. So I guess it'd be like broken up into
Right,
like
right, right.
chapters or different parts of his life.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and so yeah. So there is a god pantheon in Sumerian culture. Doesn't really work the same way that like Greek and Norse mythology works. Norse is probably the closest to it. So I'm gonna try and do my best to kind of explain it in terms that make sense. But there are just people who are gods that are just gods. That's it. God of what? Nothing. They're just a god.
Nice.
How are they related? I don't know. It's just what it is.
So
So
dating back to my episode, the Lamashtu, which was like listed as like a blood sucking being, was a like an evil Mesopotamian goddess that just drank the blood of
yeah,
people. Like she just demanded sacrifices.
yeah. It's really interesting, and I don't know if it's just because like of the time and when they would have like erected it, but I'm like the Egyptian pantheon is pretty well, like rounded. So I don't know. Maybe they just didn't need gods to describe every aspect of their life.
Maybe.
Anyways, on with the story. So King Lugalbanda was a former soldier and the child of the sun god Utu, who is the god of truth and justice. So Olugul here is not considered a god, not even a demigod, but he is divine. So I like to think of it like in the Asian royalty where they like claim to be divine, but they're not
He's like a
God.
cleric.
Yeah, kind of. God touched me. So he was the second king of Uruk, and he reigned for 1,200 years. So there's like a full-on list of the kings of Uruk that they list and like how long they reigned for. So
Sounds like a
obviously,
great reign, though.
right? Obviously, he was doing
1,200.
something right. His godliness, I guess, gave him long life. I don't know. So during that time, he fell in love with the goddess Ninsun, and they had a child named Gilgamesh. So Ninsun is not really a goddess of anything; she's just simply a god. And fun fact, sacred animal is the cow. I loved it. I was like, ah,
My sister loves cows.
me too. Oh, I love them so much.
Like her
I
whole
find
house is
them neutral
decorated in
animals.
cows. Yeah, I know. I'm like pretty neutral about cows. Like they're cute
They
sometimes.
smell
Yeah.
kind of dumb.
Apparently they make very good pets though.
Yeah, apparently they're really loving. I want a pat.
I went to school near slaughter farms, so
You're like meat.
I am detached from cows.
So Logobanda dies when Gilgamesh is still a child, and because he died as a king and his son wasn't old enough, they have a couple other kings in between him and Gilgamesh. So when Gilgamesh does come of age, he is crowned the fifth king of Uruk, and he possesses super strength. I don't know, I guess because he's demigod, though he's never really like depicted as a demigod. And his reign on that list of kings is for 126 years, so he also has a very long life by today's
Significantly shorter.
by today's standards.
Was he murdered?
Well, so he reigns for 126 years, but he wasn't like he was alive for longer than that. So
Yeah, he
He
did some shit
retired.
after. Yeah, he retired from being king. He's like, this shit's boring. I'm out.
Time to do some other things in my life.
right,
When I grow up, I want to not be a king.
right. I just can't wait to not be king. So
Back to
unlike
Disneyland.
Yeah. Unlike King Arthur, who is still kind of hotly debated on if he was actually real or not, Gilgamesh is considered to be a real official king of Uruk, and they believe that he probably reigned during some time of the 26th century BC. So we even have like some kings who come afterwards. They're like, hey, I'm totally a descendant of Gilgamesh. Look at this divine pure blood. It means that I have a better claim to the throne. Or I'm sorry,
I would like to state that 90% of what I know of Gilgamesh comes from the Fate series.
you
So
are about to have everything thrown.
he's so good. I mean, he's not. He's a shitty person, but like he's so good in that show. So
So I've only seen like the first episode or two of the Fate series, so I don't actually know how they portray Gilgamesh, but if that's how they portray him, kudos to them because he is a shit person.
yeah, no, he is the most pompous dickhole. He's like the rest of you guys are kings. That's fine, but I'm the king of
So,
kings. So
yeah. I mean, he who will surpass all. Come on now.
yeah, no, it's you would like their portrayal of him, and he's blonde, so he'd probably be your favorite.
Every time, always the blonde.
I don't like. There's no rational way that somebody from Mesopotamia would be like a blonde white dude, but but that's how they portray him in the show.
You know,
Well,
because
is Jesus
anime.
to be portrayed as a white dude for literally hundreds of years?
What?
yeah,
like-
Gilgamesh. They were just like, let's make him pretty, blonde.
Whoever writes the story makes the rules.
Right.
Yeah.
Artist
Well,
interpretation, right?
Alexander the Great is like got very tan skin, but also
Yeah.
orange, like red hair in that show.
Yeah.
So
He's like, I think you meet him in like the first episode. I remember seeing him. I was like, what? Yeah, it was beautiful. Anyways, so Gilgamesh will eventually be raised to the level of God, kind of like Hercules, who eventually obtains godhood. And he is actually one of the judges that the Sumerians would see when they would pass away in the underworld that would kind of judge you, just like in Greek mythology. You have the judges that weigh your life. Why he gets this role, I have no idea.
I would not want to be judged by him. He's a dick.
Yeah, for sure. So he is also labeled as the brother of Inanna, who is like the equivalent of Aphrodite and is the twin of Utu. which, if you remember, is like his grandpappy somewhere. So Inanna's not really his sister. It's, to me, more like how Loki is referred to as Thor's brother, even though there is no relation whatsoever. They're just kind of like, brother, and that's kind of what it is. We'll get to Inanna later. So, for all of this, as we have kind of stated, Gilgamesh is not a great king. He's not even a good king. He is, in fact, a tyrant. So he is the worst kind of king. So he is so extra and arrogant that even the gods take notice, which, catching the eyes of the gods, as we know, is not really a good thing in any mythology. So they set out to punish Gilgamesh for his arrogance, and it's not really a punishment, it's kind of more like a life lesson. So they create this wild man named Enkidu, and they send him out to find Gilgamesh in order to humble him. How they expect him to do this, I have no idea. So,
Kick him in the ass?
Do what?
Kick him in the ass?
Yeah.
Like, a swift kick to the ass or the balls will humble many a man.
Yeah.
Punch him in the titty.
It might be really hard. I imagine he's like ripped to the gills, so that might be kind of.
He's still got a titty.
Yeah. So Aruru is the goddess of the mountains and fertility, and she's
What
one
is
who
it?
creates
Sorry.
Aruru.
Okay.
Aruru.
I thought you said a lugaroo, and I was like, that's French, I think. So... Anyway, continue.
I feel so bad because I'm like, I feel like I'm butchering these names, but I don't know how they're actually supposed to be pronounced. So you get Aruru. So she creates him, puts him in the mountains nearby Uruk. Enkidu is very animal-like. He is covered head to toe in hair and very, like, caveman. So he spends his day hunting and, in general, just kind of being a wild wanderer. He is a wild man, after all. So one day, Enkidu destroys some trap set by a hunter who just happens to pass by when this occurs. The hunter is unsure of how to handle this and asks his father for advice. So his father tells him to go seek the king of Uruk and ask for his help. So the hunter travels to Uruk and seeks an audience with Gilgamesh. Hearing the story, Gilgamesh decides that the best course of action is to tame this wild man, because what else are you going to do? And his way of taming him is by summoning the prostitute Shamat and having her seduce Enkidu.
Excellent.
All right, good plan.
You know,
solid choice.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Is she also covered in hair?
No, she's like, I'm guessing because he called upon her, she's like the best prostitute in Uruk or something. Because
very famous. Well,
yeah, it's the only thing I can think of. She probably makes a lot of money. Just saying. Good on her.
We prefer the term high-end.
Hey, you know, no, she's straight prostitute. So Shamat finds Enkidu easily and seduces him even easier because he's a wild man. So that's what happens. So for 2 weeks, she lays with him, and as each day passes, Enkidu becomes more human-like. For 2 weeks, she lays with him, and as each day passes, Enkidu becomes more human. He starts to lose the hair. He gains the ability to understand and communicate.
Wait a minute. Sex makes him lose hair?
Yeah.
Isn't that the opposite of the tale that they used to say, you know, make hair grow on your palms?
I've really never heard this one.
It's like it's an old, probably 50s maybe, where, you know, like self-pleasure would make hair grow on your palms and stuff like that. Or like having sex will put hair on your chest, you know, make you a man. This is the exact opposite.
Well, I was going to say, what I'm learning from this is that boning will make a man more human. So...
Or more feminine if this keeps going.
Fair. 2 weeks. We only get 2 weeks.
Then we can punch Enkidu in the titty.
See, there we go.
There's your titty.
So, he is highly intelligent, and he has this godlike strength that is about the only thing he's able to retain from his wild man days. And he finds that animals and beasts now flee from him because he's no longer a wild creature, he is a human.
That's
So after this 2-week period, Shama convinces Enkidu to travel to Auric with her and challenge the king, figuring that he could probably overpower the tyrant and dethrone him, and it's a win-win for her because she can be like the consort or some shit. Make even more money. So the pair set out for Auric. And during this 2-week period with Enkidu, Gilgamesh has some interesting dreams. So in Sumerian mythology, dreams are a means for the gods to talk to non-gods. So it's how they like send their messages. Side note that I didn't put in here, you will see a lot of parallels between the story of Gilgamesh and events that happen in the Bible and the Old Testament. Just as a side note, it's in there. So in the first dream, Gilgamesh sees a meteor fall outside the city of Auric. He's drawn to the beauty of this stone and takes the stone and carries it to his mother, who is Ninsun the god. So in the second dream that he has, there is an axe that everyone surrounds in the city and is like obsessing over. And so Gilgamesh is like, I gotta see what this is. So he comes up to the axe, sees it, and is like instantly besotted by this axe and takes it to his mom as well. So when he takes both of these to Ninsun, she tells him that both of these items represent a man he will soon contend with, and that this man will become his most treasured companion who will help save him. Not gay at all. So finally, arriving in Auric, Enkidu sets out to find the king and finds him in the middle of sleeping with a newlywed woman who is obviously not wed to the king. So Enkidu flies into a rage and attacks Gilgamesh, as any normal person would, I suppose.
Yeah, as every very not animal man does.
How would he know that woman like was not married?
Because he's very intelligent.
I don't know. I'm guessing they're just like getting it on in a corner somewhere, like.
Still could be a married couple.
Well,
just because you're married doesn't mean you don't have, crazy sex in stairwells or something.
Maybe he's like he's like Sherlock Holmes. So he just looked at the scene for like 2.5 minutes and was like, I know everything about you when you were 3.
There's a scuff mark on the wall. Wedding ring not found. I don't know. Shoelace slightly untied. They're not married.
Don't mention my BBC Sherlock, okay? He read it. But yes, you are not wrong. I don't know how he finds out or knows. He just knows. I don't know.
His intuition.
So he flies into a rage and decides to attack Gilgamesh, like any normal person would. So a fight ensues, and they quickly find that they are both equally matched, both having this like superhuman strength. And neither one is like giving in or giving an inch, and then as the time goes on, they kind of start to grow tired. So this tiredness is why are you laughing?
Just imagining these two like messed up guys, like The Rock and some other person, and they're just fighting, and hours going down, and they're eventually like going like, just like throwing these really weak punches, like barely even hitting each other because they're so tired, but they gotta keep fighting because I don't know, toxic masculinity.
Pretty much how this goes. So being tired is not something that Enkidu is used to. So Gilgamesh easily wins because Enkidu's like, I'm too tired to continue fighting. So
one soft punch to the jaw knocked him over.
Anyway, so Enkidu accepts this defeat and bows to the king. Gilgamesh admires the strength and courage of the newcomer and welcomes him, and they become instant friends and comrades.
Weird.
But he's like, you fought me and lost, be my friend. Gilgamesh doesn't have a lot of friends, apparently. I don't know. Neither does Enkidu, apparently.
I would think he'd be an enemy, but sure.
There are 2 ways to make friends as an adult. The first is to fight somebody, and if you win, they have to be your friend. The second way is to convince them to play Mario Kart with you, and then never let go of them.
But wait, none of those are what we did.
Fucked Up Fables life lessons.
Wait, does that mean we're not friends, guys?
I mean, so like, in a very misconstrued sort of way, I was gonna say, didn't we all fight together? We were just on the same side.
True.
We led a goddamn rebellion.
We did. We read a revolution.
And thus the resistance was born.
Vive la resistance!
Which is still alive to this day.
I mean,
kind
but
of.
is it though?
People still ask me to join. I accept them. I don't even read it. I'm just like, sure.
That's really funny.
Writing down. We're preparing.
The resistance.
Right. So, as the days pass in the city, Enkidu finds himself falling into a depression. He had given up his entire life and the only one that he had known to come to Auric. So, seeing his friend in this state, Gilgamesh proposes an adventure into the nearby Cedar Forest. That's literally what it's called, Cedar Forest.
Oh,
Does it-
you're sad. Let's go on an adventure. I like
Does
this
it?
guy.
So the only person that he's ever known is this was the charlatan prostitute lady, yeah? Didn't
Shamat,
she
yeah.
come? Yeah, didn't she come with him?
Mhm.
So he didn't give up everybody he's ever known because she's still with him.
I didn't say that. I said he gave up the only life he ever knew.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
Sorry.
Continue.
Because he was a wild person. It's like he gave up living in the forest
Right,
and became a wild man to be civilized. And he's like, the
Lame.
civilized life ain't for me.
Sex, the great civilizer.
Yeah.
That's
So-
so much.
Where was I? Okay, yeah. So going to the Cedar Forest will allow him to get back to nature for a bit, and there is word of a demon there called Humbaba. Forest is a forest of the gods, and Humbaba was set as the guardian by the god Enlil, who is kind of like the avatar. He's like the god of the elements. Like he kind of controls all the elements. So Gilgamesh also has another reason for going there that is probably a little bit more important than the other two, and that is that Uruk doesn't actually have any wood of its own. It has to get it from elsewhere because of where it lays. So this is a pretty convenient, close location for them to go and obtain wood. So they can obtain cedar wood there. So Gilgamesh and Enkidu set out with a huge swarm of people so that they can go do this. And they travel to the forest. They encounter Humbaba, and you'll never guess what happens. Guess.
They attack her.
By what
Like
he's
a
saying.
la Hercules. Person's on my way. Punch them.
In the titty.
So yeah, in a very Hercules-like manner, and they kill him. So we actually know how this happens. So
I like to imagine that this how is it Mbaba?
Humbaba.
It's just like, oh hey guys, what's up? And Gilgamesh and Enkidu are like, fucking die.
That's exactly how I imagine it.
And they just like shoot, like it's like passing in the street and he's like, oh hey what's up? And they're just like, I have to kill you now. Yeah.
Witnesses.
So it
Nobody could know we were here.
a little bit different than that. So Humbaba has what are called radiances or auras that kind of like encompass his powers as a guardian. So when they encounter him in the forest, Gilgamesh actually bargains with him. So he says that he will give the guardian one of his sisters for each of these powers of his, and he can do whatever he wants to these sisters. So the guardian accepts.
I mean, that's one way to get rid of your siblings.
I don't like it.
So the guardian accepts, and the two are able to kind of like subdue and trap him. So Baba pleads with Gilgamesh for mercy, and Gilgamesh is ready to like let him go when Enkidu convinces him not to. So during this like quarrel that Enkidu and Gilgamesh have, Baba breaks free and runs away, only to be slain by Enkidu and killed Medusa style with his head being chopped off.
Gross.
So, like Medusa, they pick up the head and take it to the god Enlil, the creator of him, to show him their kill. I put in here much like a hunter would do, but it's more like showing off, haha, look what we can do. It's kind of how I feel. So,
Wouldn't that just piss them off?
so Enlil is definitely pissed, but unlike some others, I gotta catch my throat. He doesn't seek revenge, and instead actually just takes the radiances or powers that Humbaba had given to Gilgamesh and kind of distributes them away from him. So there are 7. So the first one is given to the fields. The second and the third ones are given to the rivers and the reed beds. The fourth is given to the lions. The fifth is given to the palace, but some translate it as a debt slave. I don't know what a debt slave is, but I'm assuming it's going to money. I don't know. I don't know. I'm like,
I mean,
it's going
I
to
have
the
some
slaves.
theories on what a debt slave is, but it's probably not PG-13.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So debt slaves. The sixth one goes to the forest, and then the last one is actually given to Nungol, who is the goddess of the underworld. She would be the equivalent of Hades. She doesn't like control death; she just runs it. So, taking these radiances or auras away from Gilgamesh, he tells Gilgamesh that he has to give something in return. So this is where we kind of get into that weird, we're missing about a third of the entire story of Gilgamesh, and then it's like random pieces and sections. Some of it is like half of the tablet is gone. But in this case, the part that describes the second item that Gilgamesh gives is completely gone, so we have no idea what that is. We just have the other 6.
A finger.
So it's some weird shit he gives, okay? So the first he gives is his sister Mater. Don't ask. I
I'd
literally
be
didn't.
so mad if I was his sister.
He doesn't give 7 sisters, so I'm guessing he only has the one. I don't know. His siblings are literally never mentioned anywhere else. I don't know.
Or maybe he just really particularly dislikes this one.
True.
Or maybe she's older than him, and so he's like, I have to get rid of this bitch.
She's on her way out.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing he gives. The third thing he gives is Eka flower, which is kind of like the Sumerian equivalent of ambrosia, so it's just the food of the gods. The fourth and fifth items are a pair of big shoes and a pair of tiny shoes. I don't know what qualifies as big or tiny.
Some
I
of
don't
these
know.
things are not equivalent to the other.
Wait, did he have these things on him? Did he just have 2 different sizes of other shoes that he's not wearing just in his satchel while they walk through the wood for no reason?
I mean, what about his sister? Is he just carrying her around in his, bag of holding?
It would be like, I give you my sister and then she comes later. But shoes?
No, I don't know.
Tiny and large shoes?
We're getting way into this. This is just what he gives to him. I don't know what the
It's weird.
If the Fate series has taught me anything, it's that Gilgamesh has the ability to summon any item from his treasure hoard at any given point in time.
So
He
Well,
probably
there's
just
my
summons
answer.
these items.
that is hilarious because the 6th item he gives is a bunch of precious stones.
Now that I can see having in your purse, I
It's
guess,
kind of funny.
as a king.
And then the 7th item, which is really interesting to me because it's not something that Gilgamesh would either have or like it would be worth a shit ton, is he gives him a bundle of tree branches. And as previously stated, Oric doesn't have its own supply of wood. They have to get it from elsewhere. So
Tree branches they
maybe
took
that's why
while
it's
walking
considered
through the
supply.
woods. So essentially, they like took from this thing, went, here's some tree branches we totally did not get from this wood.
I don't know. I feel like he would be a little bit savvy to that. I don't know. Maybe he's like Atlas and pretends to be smart and is really dumb as fuck. So, anyways, so while all of this is going on, that group that came with them is chopping down the trees and bringing them back home.
Right now, Frank.
This kind of gets the attention of the other gods because it's all happening in their forest. But none of them really like care to do anything except for one, and her name is Inanna, and she has become quite infatuated with Gilgamesh. So they return home, and Inanna appears before Gilgamesh. So she like enters his room, and he knows instantly that it is her. She is strikingly beautiful. He knows it's her, and she propositions him, and he says no. So she tries to convince him to sleep with her by disrobing and showing off her beautiful body, and he still says no.
Oh,
Gilgamesh tells her, I know what you do to men, and I will have no part in that. He's
did
like,
she
no.
eat them?
It's because he likes buttholes.
No, she
Sorry,
she
I was laughing at T's little.
so
Sorry.
she kind of like sleeps with men and makes them fall in love with her, and then like throws them to the curbside, and then just moves on to the next one. So she's
Ooh,
like,
that's like me in The Sims.
yeah, so she's like a line of broken hearts, you know, and she's a goddess, so no one argues with her. So as you can imagine, Inanna is pissed. She's like, no, 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 no. No one says no to me. So the king turns her down, and not really for any good reason. I mean, in my opinion, it's a good reason. He's just like, fuck you, I
He's
don't
not
want
in the
to.
ladies.
Right.
Fine. He found his soulmate in Enkidu.
You know, like, she likes to sleep around, but if you'll remember, so does Gilgamesh. So why
Didn't have
is
Enkidu.
he turning down this, you know, chance? So Inanna, furious with Gilgamesh, returns to the home of the gods and seeks out her father Anu. So he is like the supreme god and the ruler of the skies. She pleads with her father to punish Gilgamesh and to send down Anu's champion, which is called the Bull of Heaven. It is just a giant bull. So after some persuading, she literally threatens to scream so loud that the dead rise up and eat the living if he doesn't do this for her, and to
I
convince
am not here for zombies.
So you'll be glad to hear that Anu agrees and sends the bull to challenge Gilgamesh. So the bull starts a rampage, and I like to imagine that like the townspeople somehow manage to send it into a ring, and it gets like all matador style, just because it's, I don't know, it's kind of amusing to me. So Gilgamesh takes on the bull, and at some point during this like matador fight, Enkidu joins in. So Enkidu grabs the bull by the horns to keep him trapped and in place, and then Gilgamesh gives the killing blow to the bull.
He
So
suplexes him.
Inanna is not getting what she wants. They did not end up dead. The bull did. Because, you know, whatever. So she's pissed. She's screaming like a mad woman. She's cursing them out. So Enkidu, being the little shit that he is, I love him so much, he taunts her. And he does this by cutting off the leg of the bull and throwing it at her. Like there are
Love
times
it. That's what I do.
I have to remember that he's a wild man originally, so like some of the shit that he does just doesn't make any sense. So
Fun fact, real story. When I was in college, somebody in my town murdered his girlfriend, cut her up into pieces, went to the roof of his building, and started throwing her body parts at people, like walking by on the street.
We just took
That's
a hard left.
well. That it reminded me because I was like he did it to like taunt people, and it
yeah,
was just like throwing body parts as a taunt. Apparently,
Like, so he had no plan to escape.
he just went up there and started hurling bits of
I
her
mean,
at people.
I guess if you're planning on getting caught,
I don't think there was like much forethought to it. Kirksville has a drug problem.
I mean, to be
Just
fair,
collectively, the entire city has a drug problem.
bringing it back to this, Enkidu doesn't have much
Yeah.
forethought either because he literally just taunted a goddess for being dumb.
That's fair.
So, so where I'm like blah, 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 words. Okay, so this offense of taunting Inanna kind of gets a little bit more attention from the gods than anything that has gone on previous. So when Inanna runs back to good old dad, he is not pleased at all. So he's like, not only did he taunt my daughter, he killed the bull of heaven, and he killed Humbaba. So, side note, I would like to point out that the bull of heaven was not slain by Enkidu. It was in fact killed by Gilgamesh. Just pointing that out. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm also confused about why the leg throwing is what really pushed him over the edge. They were like, "Yeah, you did some really bad shit, but fuck you for throwing that leg."
Yeah, it's like I think the way it's described is that like she's sitting up on this wall of the city, like pissed off about it and screaming at them. So he just literally chops off the leg and then just hucks it at her, and it like misses, but comes pretty dang close to actually hitting her, and so of course she like shrieks like a banshee and runs off because
It
It's
would have
like
been
the
way
final
funnier.
straw.
It would have been way funnier if it just like smoked her and knocked her off the wall.
Yes,
sure,
it would have.
Sorry,
um,
continue.
so while the gods may have created Enkidu, they couldn't like let this go unpunished. So they marked him for death. So that night, after the slaying of the bull and they all go to sleep, Enkidu has a dream, and this is kind of how they talk to people. So in this dream, he is seated at a table, and before him are all of the other gods. So it's kind of like a trial going on. So Enkidu is like sitting there solitary, being accused of killing Humbaba and killing the Bull of Heaven. They have like evidence that they bring against him. And the only god who stands beside him saying, no, he doesn't deserve to die, is Utu, the god of justice. So he's
I
like,
mean, you can't really argue with the god of justice. Like,
so
Seems
wherever
like the
justice
court is,
goes,
yeah.
that's the side you should be on, right?
So, like, the Greek gods are very mindful of, like, Athena, but the Sumerian gods don't particularly care about what Utu has to say because they say that his fate is set in stone and he will die. So he wakes up with
Revenge.
knowledge that he is going to die. So he's angry, obviously, as anyone would be. So he curses the wood that they took from the forest, blaming that and Shamat, who changed him, for the reason that he's in the situation that he's in. Like, if she would have changed him,
Yeah,
he would have
blame
been
the
fine.
prostitute. It's always the
Or like,
prostitute's fault.
or like, if they wouldn't have gone to the forest to get this wood, none of this would have happened. That whole
Don't
shebang.
steal from the godwood.
Yeah.
I love
So,
how men can never accept responsibility for their actions.
so I'm
Like,
getting to that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
He redeems himself. So, just as quickly as this anger comes, he kind of realizes that it's misplaced and he actually takes responsibility for all of the things that he's been accused of, whether he did them or not. And he even forgives Shamat for what she did to him in like changing him, yada yada yada.
she
Not
just
really her
boned him real
fault.
good.
It's like a backhanded compliment. He's like, I forgive you for what you did.
Look what you made me do. I forgive you for making me do this now.
It's like that Taylor
Yeah.
Swift song.
Right.
I don't know it. Thank God.
Look
Sorry.
what you made me do.
Yeah.
Look what you made me do. Woohoo.
I don't like Taylor Swift, so I don't listen to it. It just makes me think of a Christopher Titus skit, though.
Oh wow. All right. So, after going through this whole like whirlwind of emotions, Enkidu seeks out Gilgamesh to explain to him this dream that he had and that his fate is now to die. And he tells his friend to not fight against his fate. Like, don't go out and challenge the gods. Don't do any of this. Like, this is the way
Just
it's
live
supposed
your
to
best
be.
life and then die.
Right. Like, you just need to accept this. I've already accepted it. So the next 2 weeks, Enkidu is deathly ill and bedridden, and Gilgamesh spends every moment of this 2 week period at his friend's side. So he's the one caring for him, all of that. And then just when he kind of feels the end coming, so he's in his final moments, Enkidu makes a request to Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh is like, anything. Like, just name it, I will do anything for you. Don't even think twice about it. I'm gonna cry.
Kill the gods!
I'm sorry. This gets really emotional. I'm gonna cry. Okay. So all Enkidu says is, "Don't forget me," and then he dies. And that's where we're ending. Yeah, that's
Spoiler alert,
that's it.
if this Gilgamesh is anything like the Gilgamesh in the Fate series, he forgets him.
Oh
No, no. That's really sad though. Now I don't know if I want to watch this.
I mean, Enkidu is literally never mentioned.
Oh no. I mean, spoiler alert for this. The death of Enkidu is kind of what sets Gilgamesh off on becoming the literary hero that he is.
Gotta have that tragedy.
Yeah, gotta have the tragedy to become the hero.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
every
it's
good
kind
D
of
and D
like-
character.
I know. He's my Aaron. Oh, I love it. So yeah, that's where I had put to end it. As I said, like off camera, I did have more, but I decided to save it for next week to make sure that I had enough because the story is a lot shorter than I remember it being. So thoughts so far, predictions on what Gilgamesh will do, questions?
I really want him to go crazy and just like kill all the gods, and that's how their religion died or something, right? Like,
No,
I don't think it'll happen that way because he's gonna be a hero,
No,
but
don't spoil it. Don't just let it. Just
no. What I was going to say is the thing about the religion is that it happens because the area that they're in kind of gets like, I don't want to say taken over. Like it goes from being Sumerian to like Babylonian. So like all of the like names kind of switch, kind of like in Greek to Roman. It's like the same thing. They just switch names. So like Ishtar is Inanna. Like so if you know the goddess Ishtar, that's the same person, just in a different.
she's also in the Fate series.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's funny. But just because like the geography, well, it's not the geography, the culture that inhabits this location changes. That's what causes the religion to kind of change and then just like disappear. So it just kind of goes through that. Because I mean, we're talking about present day Iraq, which is Muslim, right? Or are they Islam? I don't know the official religion.
I'm really bad at it. I think there's like Sunni and the other S1, and that's what ISIS is into.
But so I mean, like,
no, that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's obviously very different than like Sumerian, like religion. But it's just because it's gone through so many like changes over the centuries, over the millennia.
We'll call it. We'll. I feel bad for this. We'll call it Muslim because we're too ignorant to know what the religion is.
No, but like, because
I can Google.
Isn't Islam the religion, but Muslim is the culture?
Islam, I think, is the religion.
Or is it the other way around?
Did you know that Islam literally translates to peace?
To what?
Peace.
Oh, peace. Yes.
So I googled Iraq. The Constitution establishes Islam as the official religion and states no law may be enacted contradicting the established provisions of Islam. It provides freedom for religious belief and practice for all individuals, including Muslims, Christians, Yazidis, and Sabian Mantian.
Oh, okay. So Muslim is different. Okay.
According to this very quick Google search, it is the primary religion. I'm gonna mispronounce it. It's Shia Islam.
Oh yeah, the Shia and the Sunni.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then the second most popular is Sunni.
So I believe this, and I could be totally wrong on this because it's been ages since I did religion studies, but I believe the Shia and the Sunni are actually branches of Islam, and like one is more literal and the other isn't.
Yeah, that sounds right. It's kind of like being Protestant or being Lutheran. They're the same.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say Catholic, but that's just because of colonial America was Protestants and Catholics.
Yeah, well, you can see it as like there's Christianity and then there's Protestants and Catholicism.
Yeah.
Like they're two very different branches of Christianity.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
And then you have your under Protestants, you have all your extra things under there. I don't think there's anything under Catholic. I think it ends at Catholic.
Well, isn't there? Yeah, I thought there was a difference. There's Roman Catholic, and then there's
there's a Russian Orthodox, which is I think considered a type of Catholic. There's Roman Catholic. There's Greek Orthodox, which I think is also kind of Catholic, but
I don't know if Greek Orthodox is. But I could be wrong. I feel like as a Catholic, I should know those things, but
I feel like, and this coming from a new Catholic, I think everything outside of Catholicism that's Christianity is just lumped under Protestant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck you,
It would
Protestants.
make
Follow
sense,
the
though.
Bible.
The Bible.
Yeah, because that was the big thing when colonial America was around, was that like Catholics were very literal Word of God, and Protestants were like,
Puritans.
religion doesn't have to be every aspect of every moment of our life. Like, lay off the Bible a little bit, y'all.
Yeah.
Sex is cool. Wear some shorter skirts or some shit, you know? Like, I don't
Yeah. Show your ankles.
know. Right. Take that bonnet
No.
off your head, girl.
Do you want to be a prostitute? Oh my gosh. Show your ankles.
Like every good Sims character, I wore nothing but mini shorts and a bra and seduced every man that walked by, and sometimes some of the ladies.
I always like to seduce the husbands.
Yes!
I like
Oh
to
my
see
gosh,
them
it's so much
fight.
fun!
I love The Sims. I have such good content.
Sims is great.
Ah, man, I might play some Sims tonight. Decorate some houses.
Right? That's my
It's
favorite
been a
thing to
while.
do.
It's been a while, but I
Fun
own a lot of
story.
Sims 4 unashamedly, or maybe a
I
little ashamedly.
I use The Sims to redesign my house.
Yes.
I
You know
literally
why
built
people
my
do
house,
that?
and like, because we were thinking about knocking down walls and stuff, and I used that to like plan it all out.
So that is all for today. Tune in next week. I believe next week. Our schedule's all fucked up. We don't know what we're doing.
We just do whatever.
Sorry.
We
Um,
try to stick with Wednesdays.
It's half my fault.
yeah. So
Probably more than half, but
the next episode will most likely be the continuation of Gilgamesh. If not, you'll have to wait 2 weeks. Sorry, I left it on cliffhanger. Not sorry. So yeah, so tune in for that. See what happens to Gilgamesh. If you would like to see our lovely faces, you can check us out on our YouTube channel. It is f*CKED Fables. We also have an Instagram where I, Enkidu, share some behind the scenes photos and other such nonsense. And that is at f_fables. And you can join our Facebook group. It is FCKED Up Fables, and that will let you stay up to date on everything going on. I posted some polls in there, yada yada yada. And then if you have a suggestion, you can send us a Gmail. It's fdup@gmail.com. And that's all.